Welcome back. My name is Taryn, watercolor abstract painter living in Silicon Valley.
Hi Taryn, and my name is Sieglinde. I'm also an abstract artist in Silicon Valley, and welcome to another episode of Art Sparks with Taryn and Sieglinde.
I think this is my favorite episode, we have visitors. So Sieglinde, please introduce our fabulous guest.
Yes, and it is a fabulous guest indeed. It is fellow artist Marie Cameron. Woohoo! And let me tell you a little bit about Marie. So Marie currently lives in Los Gatos, which is also in California, but she's a New York native and she earned her BFA on the East Coast of Canada. She is a well-rounded, award-winning artist with an emphasis on paintings, assemblage, and even some very interesting sculptural works. And I hope she will talk a little bit more about all those things. And Marie also has a very lengthy exhibition record, both in galleries, musea, and, as of late, all kinds of interesting online virtual platforms. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be talking with you this afternoon in my studio in Los Gatos. And I'm excited to, tell you a little bit more about my art.
Nice.
Awesome.
So we always try to start with when do you decide to be an artist? What kicked you to be like, oh, I'm going to be an artist?
I was born that way. I don't know about you two, but my earliest memories were about making things, drawing things, imagining things. And I really didn't consider being anything else. I was really lucky that my parents were very encouraging. We didn't have art in school so much where I grew up in the Maritimes. Until high school, there was a little bit of an introduction with some artists that came to different high schools and to see what kind of talent there was. And they had a little workshop in the summer, which was fabulous to experience real working artists and what they do. And I did some adult education courses with my mom, but my family was very artistic. All my grandmothers and great grandmothers and aunties sewed and painted, and they were hobby artists, but they were so creative. They wanted to cover furniture or tear down a wall or make a quilt. They would just do it. So there was, we always wanted to make stuff.
Very hands-on. I like that. Mm-hmm. But so you were the rebel, because then you went all in. You were not the hobby artist anymore, right?
I was the lucky one. Yeah.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. So Marie, so it was sort of like the act of making and creating was sort of like spoon-fed or genetically embedded in you, right? But so what is it that inspires you to make your work?
I work in a number of different themes, but they often come back to the environment and our connection with each other, with life, with that intangible quality that is kind of grace, I think. We are so lucky to be living on this planet, and we need to be taking better care of it. So I have a series of work that is environmental, that deals with our species' relationship with other ocean species. I have another series, which is my Birds and Teacups series, which is, pretty on the face of it, birds and teacups, but it's also, they're wild birds that are imported into a domestic situation, and they're kind of seen as a surreal element and almost an antique. So it's a commentary about, what we take for granted and what we should hold precious, I think.
Yeah. And then please tell us about your wonderful project that you recently introduced the world to, your rainbows, which was very pandemic related, but with such a positive message. Can you tell us about that? Because speaking of life and connection.
I have a couple here that I just had taken down. I recently held a pop-up after when the pandemic hit. A lot of my shows were going virtual, and as a way of coping with, the collective tragedy that we're all experiencing on one level or another, I really wanted to find some element of hope. And I wanted something that was small, that I could do, next to the air purifier and quiet. And I was distilling what that would be. And for me, it turned out to be vintage photographs that are embroidered with silk thread very delicately, these beautiful rainbows. And so there's many different expressions of them, but it's about finding the rainbow in ourselves and in each other, in our environment, in our spaces, and just connecting to that moment of awe and wonder and beauty that I think we all needed. And what was so wonderful is that I would do each one each day for myself as kind of a meditative process that would heal me. And at the end of the day, before the light went down, I would shoot it and then share it on social media. So, and in fact, I would share these daily rainbows with people. And over the course of time, when I started developing quite a number of these, my friend Christiane Conlon, who's an author in Canada, she was responding with like these verses of poetry. And we said, we should really connect and maybe do like a book and in the meantime, we developed a series of postcards with her beautiful passages on the back. And we started sending them out to anyone in the world who wanted a rainbow. So they went to places like Iceland and Australia and Ireland, and of course, here in the United States and in Canada. And it was just a lovely connection. And we would get postcards back from people, which was super lovely. So people would reserve these rainbows over the year because I didn't sell them. I wanted to see them all together in a wall of rainbows at the end of when I considered the pandemic to be over enough. So recently I had a pop-up in my studio here in Los Gatos, which Sieglinde came to.
I know, it was amazing.
And it was like seeing everyone again. And I had these little 45-minute windows where I would have a guest come and we would reconnect after this time of sadness and talk about hope. And it was like this collective photo album of all of our families. You know, they were kind of photographs that had been lost in time and were anonymous, but in a way they were all of our grandmothers and all of our memories. And so it brought out a lot of beautiful stories. And I just feel so grateful and touched. And I'm glad I could pivot like that and do something that was meaningful on so many levels to not just myself, but to other people too. So.
Yeah, and you know what? As you're talking, I just got goosebumps all over. I don't know about you, Taryn, but this project had so many layers. First of all, it was healing for you and something that you could do, you know, almost instead of going on big paintings like the ones behind you, it was almost like small and intimate, right? In your own little shelter next to the air purifier. Let's not even go there again, right?
Oh, I hope. Well, yes.
And then I was one of those people who saw your rainbows on social media every day, and it was very uplifting. And even when you're talking about it, you know, like all these good feelings come up. But then you're right. When I came to your studio, we had this wonderful conversation, and it sounded like it almost became a piece of performance art where now the wall of rainbows is up.
Yeah,
and then the next layer of the piece was this connection, not between the past and uplifting messages and hope, but also like physical, more intimate. It wasn't 5 people at a time in your studio. It was just like one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. It was almost as if the rainbows were a manifestation of hope, which realized in real hope and connection. It's like they called forth all this goodwill, and it was very nice. What's exciting though is I'm kind of seeing this beautiful arc of the project kind of complete itself, and I'm going to be teaching this method at in San Francisco on October the 2nd at the San Francisco School of Needlework and Design. So they have a beautiful new location that's opening up on the Embarcadero. They used to be on Post Street, and I can't wait to be teaching this. So it's going to be super fun.
Nice. Well, see, the message is nice. The connection is nice. Also, everything is together. It makes they are more powerful and more meaningful. So it's beautiful. Now, for example, then you like. See, I'm noticing that you like connecting and you like doing something that it will give hope. So my question right now would be is like, what is it that you like best about what you do? That you give hope, or that it's a way of expressing? What is it that it's like, this is my favorite thing?
I think it's beauty, really. And beauty is often an access point for people. So the rainbow is beautiful. It inspires us with awe. The shells are beautiful, but they're also the husk of a life that's lived and is no longer. So there's kind of a way to enter a difficult topic with honey as opposed to something else. But so you can hold the beauty and you can hold the darkness of one, and your heart is dealing with that tension, and you can accept it on maybe a very superficial level and just see the beauty. But for me, what's important with my art is that there's something underneath, and it's not like a didactic message that you must conserve the world's water, which I feel we should, but it may be just a question, like soft questions that we each have an answer for ourselves, that we need to figure that out. So it's just posing a bunch of beautiful questions and beautiful thoughts for people to have their own personal journey with, I guess.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so a lot of artists have important messages to share, right? And a lot of artists respond to life, right? In whatever way or form. And I personally love that you pose the difficult questions, but not in a confrontational way, but in a way of by highlighting beauty in those things, right? And then it's sort of like up to people to embrace it, right? Yeah. But from what is it that sets you apart? Or maybe I just gave the answer, but what is it that, in your personal opinion, what do you feel is what sets you apart in your artwork, you know, with your contemporaries, your peers?
Sure. I think with my work, it's almost surreal. It's realism, but it's imaginative. So you'll have a hyper attention to detail and focus, but the colors may be heightened and more dreamlike. There might be a tightness to the realism, but then there's also drippiness. And then I love contrast. So I might have something that is really realistic, but in the middle of my painting, for instance, in this critical mass series, there's often a human element that's superimposed. So it might be shards of broken pottery to symbolize a people that have been persecuted and lost during this conflict between the Chinese abalone fishermen in Point Alones and the Californians that were trying to take over that industry. And there was some arson and some communities were pushed off the edge of a cliff. And in 2005, Stanford archaeologists went and dug up the remains of their fishing village. So I used those elements in the middle of my pile of abalone shells. And so like people are like, oh, well, what's that in the middle? For instance, the piece that I had at the De Young Open was a field of conch shells, which the queen conch are in danger because of overfishing and some climate change issues. And in the middle of that painting, I had a pile of flip-flops that were pink that, so on one level, people are thinking, oh, I love flip-flops, I love the beach, I love shells. But it's a midden where there are piles of discarded dead conch, and then this kind of wound in the middle that's pink and red and beautiful. But it speaks to our human footprint and our tourist footprint and all the flip-flops that are floating across the oceans and landing in Africa where they're making art out of it. So I think it's that contrast of the surreal elements put together, the juxtaposition of beauty, and then kind of like, oh, what is that? And why do I need to pay attention to that? I guess that's, for me, what I think is distinct about my work.
See,
right.
It's beautiful, but it's a punch, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm going to punch you with a meaning, okay? I'm going to put it in pink so you can really digest it, okay?
Yeah.
Actually, Taryn, I love that. It's beautiful, but it's a punch. Marie, there's your new tagline for your marketing campaigns going forward.
I think I'm going to make a t-shirt.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I was like, because when you were describing it, like, oh yeah, I remember seeing, and yes. But then I was like, oh, but the meaning is like, go for it, which is good, because that's what makes the piece or the work strong. You know, is the beautiful, but also the meaning. You know, yes. So, if you have something that would be like the tagline, or what is it that the most important thing that they want the viewer to see or not to really understand, what it would be?
Oh, that's hard to distill, really. If I would have it on my website if I knew what that was, but I think it's don't take for granted anything. Protect what is beautiful in this world, because it won't be there if we don't pay attention to that. Yeah. Right.
That's very powerful and very true. And what a beautiful way to show that, like, I wouldn't call your art activism, but in a way the underlying art seems to be some kind of activism. Am I right?
It's there. It's soft activism.
Exactly. It's soft enough that people can understand it, like soft. Yes. So it's good. Yeah.
We're at it. Here they are. So these were made for a challenge recently. Oh, they're getting caught. But they're flip-flops covered with mussel shells. And I think there's something kind of playful and accessible about them, that we understand what it is to be at the beach and to sort of viscerally feel these shells with kind of walking in their footsteps in a way. So I have a series of these that I'll be doing that are related to the paintings, but they will have different shell species on them. So these little baby ones will have little pink barnacles on them. But yeah, and the barnacles are amazing because they make their home wherever, and they're able to reclaim garbage as a platform to live on too. So actually there's one back here. Isn't this the most amazing thing? This is our trash that we throw in the ocean, and how the barnacles reclaim it. So there's a lot of success stories, and I'm a very hopeful person. And the worst thing that's going to happen is we wreck our planet, and we're gone. But the planet's going to recover, like these barnacles. They're going to. This planet will be fine without us. But let's make it fine with us.
Yes, please. That would be nice. But so Marie, so how would you get the barnacles on those pink flip-flops, or am I not allowed to ask
so
that?
this is nature. That the barnacles glued themselves on this bottle in the ocean.
Yeah, and how will you do that?
I've collected barnacles just on the beach. They often hook onto sand dollars and things. And I will use, as I did for this one, epoxy.
Okay.
And then I do washes of paint, and I fix them.
All of a sudden, I was just wondering if you were going to create, because I wouldn't run it past you, like a big ocean type tub next to your studio where you immerse the flip-flop so it can happen in a natural process.
That would be interesting. I'd like to see how long it takes. I have done a piece where that's with a hashtag that's all water's holy, and I have like a holy water receptacle that I've mounted onto a painting. And that was copper as an antique piece. And I had filled it with seawater. And over time, the salt crystals started growing on it. So I understand what you mean about that interactive process and how
Right.
Yeah.
And also in terms of your message that you want to send out, I do feel that, under the umbrella of soft activism, the way you present it, it's so creative and so symbolic and subtle and beautiful, yet a punch, as Taryn was saying it. But I think it will also stick in people's memories longer because it wasn't so overtly in your face. Because when it's overtly in your face, people may just decide to tune out, and then, but because it is so inviting to come look at, but then, it's like, well, what does that mean? Like muscles on a flip-flop or the flip-flops in the middle of a painting, beautiful pink flip-flops in the middle of a painting with shells that are almost extinct. Like it's really an invitation for the viewer to come up with their own conclusion.
Yeah.
And Taryn will always say, like a viewer will always bring himself to a piece of artwork, and it will take it like where they're at. Mm-hmm. But I think that's also when it sticks, right? And maybe a year later they will see a piece again, and it will get an entirely new meaning, which is what makes this kind of art so beautiful and so interesting. And that way you never get tired of it, because we all evolve, or at least I hope we all evolve, and then we discover new things in old things.
Yeah. And we as artists have this great capacity to offer information directly to the heart through visuals, through color, and through intangibles, where sometimes scientists have words and it's complicated and you understand it on a conceptual level, but if it's not going into your heart and something you recognize to be true on a kind of a soul level, then it becomes too academic and too easy to dismiss, I think.
True. True.
See, that's the good thing about one art is that we all artists, we have different priorities, or that something is important for us. So it's so nice to know what is important for you and then pass it on to the people. And because that way we can, in here, the scientists can explain everything to the scientists, and then the artistic people will go for the people who like art and get those deep, meaningful things to the people who like art, which is really, really good. Mm-hmm. But yes, so that's really nice about this whole thing about having deep paintings. Like paintings will have like deep meaning, like for everybody. So it's really nice. And you have anything else that you said, oh, this is really important, I want people beside, what else you would like to say, or something that will be missing?
Now that my rainbow project is finished, I'm very excited to return to painting and work on some of the large pieces that I have floating in my mind. And, I'd love to see a solo museum show with those pieces, the Critical Mass series. So I'm going to put all my energy into that.
We're sending vibes for that solo show.
Thank you very
for
much.
those pieces. And Marie, just to wrap up, where can people find you? How can people see your art, engage with your art?
Absolutely.
What is the best way to get in touch with you? We will put it all in the description box below as well, but please share it.
Fantastic. So I always have, my website is mariecameronstudio.com, and I have an extensive portfolio up there. And for daily kind of dose of what's happening in the studio, Instagram is great, Marie Cameron Studio at Marie Cameron Studio, and same with Facebook. I'm on all of them: LinkedIn, Twitter, all the goodies.
And could people sign up for your upcoming workshop in San Francisco, where they could learn more about the Rainbow Project? How would they do that?
They would go directly to the San Francisco. Oh dear, yes. If they're interested in taking the workshop, you can go directly to the San Francisco School of Needlework and Design, or SFSNAD.
Acronyms. They lost me already.
We'll put it in there. No worry.
So you can go directly to the School of Needlework Design website, and they'll have a sign up there.
Awesome. And what a treat it would be to work alongside the amazing
it's going to be so funny. I already hear that
Cameron.
Mothers and daughters are coming to work on family photographs together. It's going to be such a beautiful bonding experience.
It is. Taryn, maybe you and I need to sign up too.
Yeah. Friends
Get
together.
your rainbow on.
Yeah. Let's get a rainbow.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Marie. And thank you for, sharing your beautiful work and your message behind it. And I hope you, our audience, feel a little lighter and hopeful today after our visit with the amazing, wonderful Marie Cameron. Thank you so much, Marie.
Yeah, thank you so much. And all of you, thank you for watching. Right?
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.